Here we go. Hi, everyone. My name is Bhavani from Mind, Body, Spirit, and it is my pleasure to be joined today by the amazing Vicky Paul, who is hosting a workshop with us this May at the London Wellbeing Festival. Hi, Vicky. How's it going?
Oh, lovely. It's great. Lovely to see you. And it's
Lovely to
lovely
see
sunny where we
you.
record this, so it makes a massive difference when it's blue sky.
I know. We're finally in spring, which is really exciting. A little bit of a delayed start, um, but yeah, really getting us in the mood for the amazing things that
Oh,
you're going to be sharing with us. I just
yes.
want to say a quick hello to everyone who will be watching us live, but also to everyone that's joining us later and watching this in their own time as well. So everyone's equally important, and we're saying hey to everyone. So, Vicky, tell us all about the workshop that you're going to be doing with us at the end of May.
Yeah, do you know, I'm so looking forward to it. I love working with you guys. It's such a great buzz at the festival. For anyone who's never been before, it is just it's the energy is amazing. So even if all you do is mill about, you're going to feel buzzed at the end of it. But clearly, we want you to come to all the amazing workshops. So if anybody doesn't know me, I am an intuitive and an artist and an energy healer, and I am really passionate about using art and creativity and color to help your general well-being, whether that's emotional, spiritual, mental, physical. And I have been running intuitive painting workshops for a number of years. And we're going to be running one of these workshops on Friday the 26th. It starts at 1:30. It's an hour and a half long. And before I even go anywhere near the content, if you've never painted before and you don't consider yourself arty, then please still come. In actual fact, you get much more out of it, because traditionally, if you do paint and you have got a bit of an artistic practice, you tend to have the way you do things, and it's much harder
Mm,
to let go. So this workshop is called The Art of Wellbeing, and it's all about using intuitive painting and creativity to tap into your gut instinct, to source, self, one, God, whatever you want to call it. And it's about
yeah.
accessing that space without judgment, with an open heart, and it's about using the messages in color, because color is frequency and energy. And I work a lot with the chakras, and the colors associate with all the different chakras in your body. And I believe that our bodies are always trying to communicate with us. And using intuitive painting is an amazing way to get out of your head and into your body and start
Mm,
to listen to what's going on in your body and what your body is trying to guide you towards. And that could be anything from any kind of physical symptoms and ailments that you've got, or if you have just reached a point in your life when you're stuck, whether it's you're bored with your job, or you don't know what to be doing anymore, or you feel that you've just lost your sense of purpose. It's a really great way of getting out your head and out that logical way of
mm.
life, and just getting into your body and listening to what comes up, and actually opening up to receive what the universe is wanting you to hear. Is
Yeah, I really love that. And I love that, we've had you at our festivals before, and I love that we're bringing in that artistic, creative side of spirituality as well, and that sort of channel for expression beyond, the other mediums that we have at the festival, which will be, actual sort of body work workshops and classes across the spectrum. But this is another way to tap into that. And I love how you bring in knowledge of the different energy centers in the body and spirituality and wellness. Um,
okay.
that's okay. That how you bring that within.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, guys.
yeah, I know. We're so often on our phones that we
Yeah,
forget. Yeah, so
sorry.
the interesting component that you're bringing into the workshop, and I love that you already mentioned that people don't have to already be, artistic, because you're right. I mean, I've been to one of your workshops, and I love that whole thing of, quite a big chunk of it is breaking down the concepts
Mhm,
that
mhm.
we've created around being in front of paper and creative tools in
Yeah.
front of us. So for anyone, maybe for both sides, maybe for the people who don't feel artistic and maybe have that sort of obstacle to overcome, and the people who do consider themselves artistic and think, oh yeah, this is right up my alley, because I know you sort of deconstruct that for everyone at the start. Can you talk a little bit more about that, please, Vicky?
Of course. So I use the analogy, we use let me go back to the beginning. The easiest way to describe it, and I don't like to give too much away because people come with a preconceived idea about what it's going to be all about.
Yeah.
But the easiest way to say that is, whilst we will use a canvas, and you get to take that away with you, we don't use traditional painting implements. So somebody, for example, who doesn't consider themselves arty or creative, first of all, we create every moment of every day. And I believe that our spirituality and our connection to all that is, ourselves, each other, source, whatever you want to call it, the universe, is constantly flowing through us all the time. And as an artist, that basically, as far as I am aware and believe, that is where all of our creative insight comes from, all of our imagination comes from. So we are constantly channeling that information, and we are reeling it in lots of different ways. Musicians do it through music. Bhavani, you sing, so you do it through your beautiful voice. Artists, visual artists, do it through the medium of painting or whatever their chosen their chosen medium is. So I use a blank canvas as much of an analogy as the starting point of what we're doing, because oftentimes when we get stuck in life, it's kind of like staring at a blank canvas and we're like, you've just no idea where to start.
Yeah, you're so right. Yeah.
What we do is, and that can be quite frightening and quite intimidating, both for artists. You know, I know myself sometimes if I've got a blank canvas and I'm just like, oh God, where do I start? So we really do break that all the way down. So in actual fact, it's probably only about a third of the workshop where you were painting and actually physically painting. The rest of the time we go into our intuition and what that is. I use some music, we use some meditation, we do some sharing, so there's some chatting, and it's all about using different tools and different methods to get out of your head, because most of us spend most of our lives in our head focusing on what it is we need to do, and we really forget that we're half energetic beings, half physical beings, and we want to try and spend an equal amount of time in both aspects or be able to move seamlessly between them. So if you are not artistic, then that is actually better, because you're not going to come at it with any judgment, any preconceived ideas. And it's kind of like going back to play school. We all painted and were taught art in school. And a lot of people are afraid of art because in school you're taught to draw an apple or draw a bunch of flowers or draw something in a realistic fashion, and it can be very frustrating if you don't create something that you believe is a lifelike representation of that and therefore good. And this workshop is not about that kind of painting. So we're not trying to create an end result. We're not trying to paint to finish something and have something as the completed work of art. It's all about the process that I take you through in terms of tapping into the different colors and how to apply that paint using lots of different non-painting implements, including your fingers. And then just allowing yourself to express and play and just see what happens on the canvas. And then we look at what you've done in terms of the shapes, the textures, because all of that is information and all of that is your way of sharing with you what you need to hear on that day. So the colors, where you've placed them, how much of the different colors you've used, the textures. There's so much.
Do we get to have your sort of experience and your wisdom help us analyze that side of stuff as well?
Yes. So obviously, with it being a 90-minute workshop, there's only so much that we can do. What we do at the end is, and there's no pressure to share or otherwise, but clearly you get into that kind of vibe, and it's such a lovely environment and really a sort of safe, sacred space, and it is uplifting, but equally there will be people there that some emotions do get shifted, but people start to share what's going on. And sometimes if you do find, there's always people in the workshop that maybe feel a wee bit blocked or a little intimidated because it's just something that's new to them. You know, obviously with your permission, you know, I kind of hold a sort of energetic, intuitive space and can help guide you to release the blockages that are holding you back from that moment in time in terms of how you express yourself. And anybody that is interested afterwards, you know, we can have a chat. If you feel you want the sort of, like, I would say a painting red, but that's kind of what I do with my soul energy portraits. It's a reading in the same. So But oftentimes you find that information yourself. That's the purpose of the workshop, is that you recognize what your painting is all about, because we set an intention before we start painting to either answer a question or just to be able to have fun, or some people just set it to have time for themselves without the kids or the pressures of work. So you often find that you know what your painting's telling you.
Oh, amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about, you know, the spiritual side of your work and your experience, and
Mhm.
how that led you to being an expert in this kind of unique field?
Of course. So yeah, I mean, my background is, as my husband calls it, I've had a squiggly career. But I was working in the radio industry in
Mm,
2005, 2006, and I lost that career and didn't take it very well, because I loved it. But I ended up on this. I had a bit of a dark night of the soul and had this kind of pretty special
mm,
spiritual awakening that kind of lasted maybe 2 or 3 years, and I had this really profound
mm,
experience. That made me aware that I could work with energy. And an energy, I use that as loosely as the term, and that can be anything from a sort of psychic connection with other people, picking up intuitive
mm.
messages, right the way through to mediumship and being able to share messages from departed loved ones. And I was doing this,
Wow.
yeah, it's wonderful. And I was doing this for a few years and just didn't feel that that was what I was supposed to be doing with it. And then
Mm,
in parallel to these two journeys, my husband and I were trying for a family, and unfortunately, we had 3 miscarriages, and I really struggled to express what I was feeling, which is utterly
mm,
ironic because I used to talk for a living. Um, and
mm,
this went on, we'd won consecutively every 3 years. So it was quite a long period of grieving and trying to understand what was going on. And then one
mm,
day it just came into my mind, I'm going to go, I want to go paint. Now, I've always painted, but it's always been very sort of realistic and realism. And I found myself in an art shop with a whole load of canvas and some acrylic paint. And I went home and I literally started splashing paint onto the canvas. I had no idea what I was doing
wow.
from an abstract point of view, but I could not believe how healing and how therapeutic it was. And it was almost as if I couldn't verbalize and articulate my feelings, but I could get them out
Mm,
through the paint and the canvas. Now, obviously, at that time, I had no idea what I was doing other than just throwing paint on canvas. And then, because I'd connected with this and I was starting to feel better and I was starting to process the emotions and come to terms with what had happened, I had this download that,
mm,
you know, even though I couldn't, you know, as a woman, you know, you're kind of part of your role, for want of a better word, is to create life, is to give birth to new life. And I really struggled with that as a creative person, to go, oh my God, I can't, you know, that's one of the key things about being a woman. I can't create life. And it came into my mind that actually we're creating our lives all the time. And there's another way to be
every
creative.
moment.
And, you know,
Mm,
in that really dark time, and it allowed me to access a really beautiful way to help heal and shift and move energy. And then it was like, oh,
mm.
this is how I'm going to use my energy
Yeah.
gift. I'm going to combine the energy work and the intuitive and the art. And then I started to read up on color. I trained as an energy healer. And yeah, and it's kind of evolved over time. And here we are, sort of all these years later. And
Yeah.
I've done these workshops for people that have grieved. So I've worked with different charities. I do them. I mean, I've done them for Hindus. You know, so they can be as deep and therapeutic and emotional and releasing as you are open to. So it can literally be
Mm,
an amazing couple of hours of fun, trying something new and having a giggle. Or you can go deep if you want to, and I facilitate both. And I
mm,
think it's we should not shy away from, you know, and I know that you're writing your book, which is an amazing thing to do on grief. You know, we should not be shying away from it. We don't talk about it enough in the UK, and
mm,
this is a really beautiful way to help you move through that grief, to
mm.
a space where perhaps you can feel you can talk about it. But it's not aimed
Yeah.
at people who are grieving. But I think all of us grieve for so many different things. It doesn't necessarily need to be
Yeah.
the loss of a loved one. It could be, I'm hitting menopause, and I'm in menopause, and there's a big thing that people are talking about in that space where you're grieving. Part of the transition and the difficulty with menopause is that you're grieving the loss of the younger self, of who you used to be. So it's part of that transition of life, is letting go of all the different layers that make you up as a human being. So that's kind of what I do with art, and I want to use that.
It's a really, that's why I really love programming what you do into the festival, because it is such a unique way of bringing that creative expression back into whichever phase of life or journey of life that you might be experiencing at that time as well. And it's really interesting that you mentioned about menopause and that phase of life, because this year in London we're launching a new stage which is midlife wisdom. So it's all about all of the changes that happen at that time, and reclaiming that wisdom that women used to hold about all these phases of life, that then somehow got washed away with the patriarchal society, or put to one side as being a bit out there. But it's about reclaiming that sort of that wisdom of that phase of life, so that people don't feel so lost. So I think there's a really great addition, with that in mind as well. So I'm really, really looking forward to the workshop as well. I'm going to hope that I can sneak off the festival floor and come and join the workshop for a bit as well, because it's such good fun and it's such a good vibe in there when you're hosting your workshop. Do you want to do a final plug again for when it is?
Yes,
everyone can see the ticker at the bottom for getting their tickets.
Thank you. So yes, it is 1:30 on Friday the 26th of May. It lasts for an hour and a half, and I will bring aprons. You don't need to bring anything other than yourself. It's open to kids, so if you're coming to the festival with your kids, they are more than welcome to join us. And the other thing is as well, which is wonderful this year, I'm also going to be doing half-hour talk on the main stage at 11:45, I think it is, and that's all about using color and energy to tap into yourself. So you can come to that and see what you think, and then if you are inspired, then you can come along to the workshop at 1:30. So hopefully
love it. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Vicky, for taking the time to speak to me and our communities. And we can't wait to have you at the festival in London in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, I can't believe it's just around the corner. Thank you again for inviting me.
I know.
You guys.
We love working with you too. We'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.